take your hands today to the face of your knees. Balance evenly on the sit bones. Don't push your knees down with your hands, but move your hands closer to the floor with your knees. As you do so, there's an elongation. Most of you have heard this before, from the inner thighs to the inner knees. There's also a lengthening from the upper inner thighs to the lower abdomen. That whole area between the lower abdomen and the knees lengthening as your knees gently move your hands down. Quite different than your hands pushing your knees down. Your knees moving your hands down. The arms are lengthening. And as you allow the arms to lengthen, maybe they become straight. If they don't come straight today, that's fine. As the arms lengthen, can you lengthen through the side ribs? Please balance evenly on the sit bones. Lengthen through the side ribs. Become longer in the torso. So the knees are moving the hands down. The torso is lifting up. Now, you're not lifting from the shoulders, but the shoulders rise because of the length of the torso. And that is allowing the arms themselves to become longer. Resist pushing the front bottom ribs forward. Draw the front bottom ribs towards the back body. Release the shoulders down away from the sides of your neck. Now maintain that. Maintain the knees going down, the torso lifting. Actually, one more instruction before we move there. From the base of the spine, I want you to stack your vertebrae one by one on top of each other. So if this disc is out, that disc is out. Some of us have been told, based on medical imagery, move it back into place. And others, you just might be able to sense it and just stack everything up all the way to the top of the spine to the neck. Put your head back into its proper place. So there's not jutting forward as many of us have. Now again, the knees are pushing the hands down. You're lifting up to the side ribs. Maintain that as you extend the arms diagonally out to the sides. Keep your elbows where they are. Bring your palms together, thumbs at your chest, broaden across the collarbone. As you broaden across the collarbone, also broaden across the top of your back. So the torso, front and back, are getting wider. Rest your eyes into your cheekbones, soften all of your facial features. And let's chant the syllable Om 3 times together. Exhaling completely. Deep inhalation. Lifting your sternum towards the ceiling, lower your chin towards your heart. Release your hands onto your thighs with your palms up. With your eyes closed, raise your head. From the back of your head, just gently let your eyelids open. Straighten your legs. Feet together. Fingertips by your hips. And you can choose. You can have a lift. If you don't want a lift, if you can do Dandasana comfortably without a lift. Can you get her strapped too, Leanne? Yeah, if you can sit comfortably without a lift, I'm not demanding one. But if you feel yourself scooping in your lower back, then please take a lift. It will allow you to lift your torso better. The abdomen is activated here. Tell me your name. What is it? Colleen. Welcome. Have you practiced yoga before? Any injuries? Welcome. So toes are straight up. So toes together, heels, toes together, toes point straight up at the ceiling. And notice if you have the pinky toe closer to the front of the room than your other toes, and see if you can draw the pinky toe back so it's in the same line as the other toes. And bonus points if you can separate the toes apart. I'm not great at modeling that part. But believe me, as much as they're apart here, they're further apart than they used to be. And press the thighs down, hands by your hips, Carla. Manos al lado de, how do you say hip? Cadera. Manos al lado de las caderas. I'm working on it. So thigh bones down. And notice if you're pressing your knees down, and bring the awareness high on your legs and press your thighs down. If you press your thighs down, there's actually lifting up through the torso. You can begin to feel it. Because what do we want? We want lengthening the spine, lengthening the side ribs. Really, the lengthening the side ribs is also really about lengthening the spine itself. It does also create more space for the lungs. But it's hard to know if your spine is lengthening. Most of us can't really feel it. But we can feel the sides. And if the sides are lengthening, then your spine is. So these are indicators that we can look at. Lengthen the inner thighs from the inner thigh out through the inner knee, through the inner heel, from the upper inner thighs back towards the abdomen. The flesh of the inner thighs descend. There is a drawing from the outer knees to the outer hips. That's very strong. And the hips, outer hips compact. They draw towards each other, but the upper inner thighs move away from each other at the same time. That means you have to use your brain differently, because we either want to squeeze everything together or move everything apart, either contract or stretch or spread. Compact the outer hips, move the inner thighs away from each other. Separate your legs. Now you need to treat this pose anew. Maybe the same lift is perfect for you, but maybe you want to get rid of the lift, or maybe a different height is better. I'm going to keep the same height today. So take your legs comfortably apart. If they are as wide apart as you can possibly make them, take them a little closer together. You don't have to go to maximum. It's not a contest, not even a contest with yourself. Do balance evenly on your sits bones. And turn your legs in such a way so that your kneecap points straight at the ceiling and your toes point straight at the ceiling. There's a tendency for the legs to fall out. So I want you to turn the thighs in so the kneecaps point up and the toes point up. That helps the flesh of the inner thighs move down, right? Didn't we say that before? The flesh of the inner thighs descending. So here, the flesh of the inner thighs descend. There's a lengthening from the inner thigh through the inner knee, through the inner heel. Also pushing through the ball of the big toe. There's a drawing from the outer knees to the outer hips. Compact the hips together. So the quadricep muscle, the top quadricep muscle too, definitely the outer, also the top. The quadricep muscle drawing towards the body. So the kneecap is engaged. It's not the soft kneecap, it's an engaged kneecap. But it's the same action here as you compact the hips together. The very tops of the groins, it's a little different, your legs are spread, but the tops of the groins move away from each other, even as the outer hips move towards each other. We're really talking about energy because your hips aren't really moving. Yeah, you can move down to the floor. For some, this is easier on the floor. For some, it's easier with the lift. You have to do your body's pose. But now you're scooping in the back a little bit. So bring those back ribs in. Bring the back ribs in and the front ribs back. That's it. Takes a little bit more work. Take your hands on the inside of your knees. Pull straight up. Let the feet come together. Baddha Konasana. Again, you might need to adjust your lift. Some who are comfortable in Upavista Konasana on a lower lift will need a higher lift here because the knees come way up. So take an appropriate lift. Don't just do what you necessarily did for the pose before. Press your heels. Press your heels. And lengthen from the inner thighs to the inner knee. From the upper inner thighs back towards the abdomen, right? So that whole area between the lower abdomen and the inner knee lengthening. Draw from the outer knees to the outer hips. Descend the flesh of the inner thighs. And again, as you compact the outer hips, can you spread the tops of the groins? So the outer hips moving towards each other. Tops of the groins moving away from each other. If your fingertips reach the floor, it may be a little easier because then you can use your hands, lift those side ribs. So again, Olivia, see if you can bring the back bottom ribs slightly forward so you don't have that scooping. As if the back bottom ribs are lifting the chest. Use the back bottom ribs to lift the chest up. Yeah. Sorry? The back bottom ribs go forward. Front bottom ribs go back. Back bottom ribs go forward. And if you want to get deeper, what I like to do with the back bottom ribs, I say move them in and up, but really they move down, then in, and then they lift the chest. There's a circular action to them. But if that's not making sense, that's a lot of detail. We're working with a lot of stuff today. Move the ribs in and up. That's fine. Take the hands on the outside of the knees, push the legs together, hold behind one knee, draw the flesh towards the buttock, drag the heel, straighten the leg. Other leg, draw the flesh towards the buttock, drag the heel, straighten the leg. Dandasana. And for most of us, this pose feels completely different just because we did a couple poses in between. Press the thighs down, lengthen the inner legs, descend the flesh of the inner thighs, draw the outer knees to the outer hips. Compact the hips together as you spread the tops of the groins. And release. Let's come up to standing. So I didn't teach yesterday. Yesterday was BKS Iyengar's birthday. And usually I get into teaching Tadasana on his birthday because that's really the most important pose of yoga. There are two poses in yoga you would teach. There's Tadasana and Shavasana. Everything else is variations of those two poses. I want you to take a block, take it between your thighs. We're actually going to learn some elements of Tadasana today. I won't do an hour-long class on Tadasana, although I would love to do that one day. As high as you can without hurting anything. Toes forward. Get your feet as close together as they can get. That's comfortable. Don't hurt yourself, right? Optimal, not maximum, optimal. Now, here's the thing. What we normally begin to do is we squeeze the block with our inner thighs. I don't want you to do that. I want you to squeeze the block with your outer thighs. And I want you to actually take your inner thighs away from the block. Squeeze the block with your outer thighs and take your inner thighs away from the block. We're working with energy. Do the words make sense? Words don't make sense? Outer thighs go towards each other, right? So this is the outer thigh, moves towards each other. Inner thighs, the part touching the block, they're moving away from each other. I know, at the same time. What? That makes no sense. Is my head cut off in that video? Back up a little bit. I can't see anything anymore. So outer thighs in, inner thighs out. But really, we should be starting with the feet. So there are different ways to teach Tadasana. See if you can turn your left foot forward, George. But for today, I want you to balance evenly on the balls of the big toes, the center heels, and the outer foot bone. The outer foot bone is halfway between the pinky toe and the heel. I want you to balance evenly on those 6 points. When you're not balancing evenly on them, don't worry, you're not alone, no one is. You might get a glimpse. You get a glimpse of it. You get 3, 4 points, 5, and then you get that 6, and then you get a glimpse, and then the body moves a little bit, and then you're back to 5 or 4. So you go back and forth. That's okay. Celebrate the glimpses. Celebrate the glimpses. Your feet are a little too close together. Take them apart a little bit. Not you, George. Sorry. Colleen, just because it was the knees were, I didn't like the knees. All right. So everyone understand the balls of the big toe, center, heels, outer foot bone? Because it's about to get more complicated. Sort of. All right. You can stay there. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. If the next words I don't make sense, they don't make sense. You stay there. So if I can show it to everybody in the room and everybody on camera, here is where the ball of the big toe meets the arch. Here is where the heel meets the arch. And here is where the outer foot bone meets the arch. Words make sense? See if you can experience them. They're more elusive than the balls of the big toes. Balance evenly on those spaces where the balls of the big toes meet the arch, where the heel meets the arch, and where the outer foot bone meets the arch. Yes, it's a long Tadasana today. In honor of B.K. Iyengar's birthday, which was yesterday. And now, going a little deeper, in whichever part makes sense, because some people have been practicing here for years, and some people are 2 weeks, George? 2 weeks. We welcome you here. Can't wait till you guys get back in the studio and meet George. He's awesome. Press down through those points, where the ball of the big toe meets the arch, the heel meets the arch, and the outer foot bone meets the arch. Push down evenly. You'll notice that you begin to push down on one of those points more than the other. For me, I'm a ball of the big toe guy, so they just shove down, but you can't do that because then you lose the outer foot. So can you spread your awareness to those 6 points and press down evenly into the floor? Notice if you have that awareness, if you get it, how that affects your legs. What happened to your thighs when you did that? And there's a lot going on today. And then maintain that So you're pushing down those 6 points where the balls of the toes meets the arch, where the center heel meets the arch, where the heel meets the arch, where the outer foot bone meets the arch. Again, if that doesn't make sense, balance evenly on the balls of the big toes, center heels, outer foot bone. Yeah? But push down on those points, take the outer thighs towards each other and the inner thighs away from each other. So you should feel it. It's an odd experience in the brain because you're squeezing the block and releasing the block at the same time. And then one more thing I want to add with the legs, use the inner thighs to lift the block up. Use the inner thighs to lift the block towards the abdomen. But you're still pressing those points through the feet. You're still taking the outer thighs in, the inner thighs out, and then you're lifting the block. I know it's Colleen's first class with me too. She's like, "This is yoga. What is this? I've never done a yoga class like this before. Who is this guy?" Some of you, not everybody, but some of you will notice that if you really do this work, your shoulders begin to drop. Right? All that work we do with the shoulders. Yes, you can move your shoulders and extend your arms, but if you do this with your legs, if you really begin to get it, your shoulders actually begin to drop because there's so much work going on, even in the torso, to keep your legs working. All right, bend your legs, release the block, take it out. Take your feet together. If feet together Tadasana is uncomfortable for you or you don't have your balance, then take your feet underneath your hips. Otherwise, feet together. So you have the memory of the block there, right? Still there? Squeeze the imaginary block with your outer thighs and take your inner thighs away from the block. It's a similar instruction, and that instruction is still there, right? We said in the sitting poses, we said lift the outer knees to the outer hips, compact your hips, spread the tops of the groins, right? So do that. Compact the hips, extend the, move away, release the tops of the groins. The groins spread, hips compact. Same in the thighs. Thighs move in, outer thighs move in, inner thighs move out. Push through those 6 points of the feet. If you're doing the balls of the big toes, center heels, outer foot bone, fine. Or if you can experience it, where the balls of the big toes meet the arch, where the heels meet the arch, where the outer foot bone meets the arch. It is a slightly different experience. Lift the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips, spread the groins, compact the outer thighs, spread the inner thighs, move the inner thighs away from each other. Even, but not so much where you're not getting the compaction. So you're compacting and creating space at the same time. How cool is that? Extend your arms out to the sides, drop the shoulders. Now take your front bottom ribs towards the back body, back bottom ribs towards the front body. Rotate the arms up. Inhale, take the arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. Press through those 6 points of the feet as the arms go up. Drop the shoulders. Shoulders go down as the arms go up. Keep the front bottom ribs towards the back body, back bottom ribs towards the front body. So much going on. Turn your arms out to the side, come halfway down. Rotate your arms up. Now keep your arms in line with your shoulders. Don't allow them to come forward. Drop the shoulders, push the arms up. Don't let them come forward. Don't let them come forward. Even if they're further apart, I don't care. This is fine. That's a fine pose. That's it. Watch the ribs though. Colleen, take your front bottom ribs towards the back body. Turn your hands out to the sides. Exhale, come down. Tadasana. Be in Tadasana for a moment. Are you pressing through those 6 points of your feet? Are you compacting the thighs in, the outer hips in, the groins out, the thighs move away from each other at the same time? Front bottom ribs back, back bottom ribs in, extend through the arms. Tadasana. And some of you are going to wonder what the next instruction is, or wonder when I'm going to say something next. Can you be here in the pose without wondering what comes next? Move your shoulders down. Palms face your hips for today. Actually, let's do this. This is a good one. Take, from your upper arms, move your upper arms out, turn your palms to face the sides. But now keep the upper arms turned out, rotate the forearms, and turn the wrist back towards your hips. So we're building. Front bottom ribs still moving back. Now from the crook of your neck, extend over your shoulders and move your shoulders down. Are you still pressing down through those 6 points? Are your outer thighs still moving in, inner thighs moving out? If you begin to wobble like a pendulum, you're doing it correctly. Take your arms out to the side. Drop the shoulders down. Rotate the arms up. From your armpits, push your arms up. Push down through those 6 points of the feet. Take your front bottom ribs towards the back body. Work those thighs. Front bottom ribs back. Extend through the side ribs. Extend the arms up, shoulders down. Turn your hands out to the side, come down. If you lost anything in the legs, reestablish them. Interlace your fingers together. Turn your palms out. Press into the 6 points of your, actually, let's do it differently today so we can keep that up and down line. Take the back of your hand on your head. Now, as soon as you do that, the front bottom ribs go forward. We throw the hips and ribs forward. So still hips over your heels, front bottom ribs back. Now press into those 6 points of your feet. Still work the thighs the way we have been. And now, as you move your shoulders down, extend your wrists up until the arms become straight. Don't tuck the chin, chin parallel to the floor. Take your upper arms towards the wall behind you. Notice I didn't say hands. Actions from the upper arms. Front ribs back, back ribs in. Press through the feet, press through the wrists. Release the hands out to the sides, come down. Interlace your fingers the opposite way. Opposite first finger on top. Take the back of the hands on the back of your head. Elbows move back. So again, as soon as we get here, we tend to throw the hips forward and the front ribs forward. So the thighs, hips go back, the ribs move into the body. Press through those 6 points of the feet. Thighs are activated, and bring the shoulders down as you extend the wrists up. Release your arms out to the sides, back to Tadasana. Press through the 6 points of the feet. Work those legs. Outer hips in, groins out. Outer thighs in, inner thighs out. Lift through the side ribs from the crook of the neck. Extend over your shoulders and out through the arms. Allow the sternum to rise. Allow the breath to fill your lungs evenly. Now I want you to feel your sternum for a moment. Take your hands, feel your sternum. And there's a lifting there, right? Feel a little bump there on your sternum. But then if you go to the sides, it dips a little bit. And then it comes back up where the shoulders are, right? So right next to the sternum, there's a little dip. Do you guys feel that? So beginner's instruction, lift the sternum. Makes sense, right? Today, I want you to allow the sternum to drop, but lift those areas. Lift those dips between the sternum and the shoulders. This is straight from Stephanie. I think it's, I don't know. I'm going to get the last name mixed up, but Stephanie, she lives in Australia, but she spent 20 plus years side by side in India next to the Iyengars. And this instruction is straight from her. So instead of just lifting the center of the chest where the sternum is, so release your arm. You know, you can, if you want, stick your fingers there just so you have a memory, right? That helps memory. And now, where that dip was, lift there. Don't worry about the sternum. The sternum can even sink a little bit. It's not really going to sink, but lift those sides of the sternum higher. Don't worry about the arms right now. And especially for those that have been practicing for a while and have sensitivity in the body, notice how that changes the breath. And if you don't notice it, it's okay. And if this doesn't make sense to you, lift the sternum, right? That's why we have different instructions, because different people understand different things in the body. Lift the sternum makes sense, lift the sternum. But if it makes sense of you, these little dips next to the sternum, lift there. Now press through the 6 points of the feet, outer thighs, outer hips in, groins, inner thighs out. Lift the outer knees to the outer hips. Front ribs back, back ribs in. Lift the sides of the sternum, not the sternum itself. And then extend through the arms. Now, most of us here in Tadasana only pay attention to the front body. So we say, broaden the chest. So yes, lift the areas to the sides of the sternum. But I want you to equally broaden the chest and broaden the back, the top of the back, what I sometimes call the back chest. And bring equal awareness to the front and back body. And more importantly, notice the effects that doing this has on your breath and on your mind. And if I didn't think it would scare everybody away and you never come back, this is what we do for the next half hour. But we won't, I promise. We'll do some other stuff. But that's really how important this is. So teacher Trikonasana, triangle pose. Fingertips up by your chest. Bend your legs. Jump or step your feet apart. Take a wide stance. Take your hands on your hips for a moment. Sometimes I change my mind in the middle. We'll get to Trikonasana. Don't worry. Press where the ball of the big toe meets the arch, where the heel meets the arch, where the outer foot bone meets the arch, and see if you can find an evenness. It's not usually how I teach the wide legs here, but since we spent so much time there, let's see if we can bring that here. Can you find an evenness in those points? Because sometimes you just jam into that outer foot, which is, for beginners, we'll often say that because they're falling into the inner foot. So we say go to the outer foot. But eventually we need to find an equanimity here, even in the legs or the feet, which hopefully one day translates into the mind. Lift the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips together. As you compact the hips together, still spread the tops of the groins apart. Then turn your left foot in, turn your right leg out. Make sure your front heel is in line with your back arch. Press the outer rim of your back heel. Turn the front thigh. Your kneecap should be in line with the top of your foot. Lift the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips together. So now you're pressing the outer rim of the back heel. On the front leg, you're pressing the ball of the big toe as you turn the front thigh out. Lift both outer knees to outer hips. So the foot is different. We're not doing the same thing. Extend the arms. Turn your torso towards me. Reach through the back arm as you come forward. So press the back heel, reach through the back arm, exhale, come down. Head back. George, turn your top arm so your palm faces forward. That's it. Maybe come up a little higher. There. Now that chest is nice and open, right? Now you can extend those arms. That's it. Or if the arm bothers, you can also just take your hand on your hip and work on the opening of the chest. Okay? Top arm bothers you, take your hand on your hip. See if you can lean your torso just to hold there. Do you feel the difference? And you didn't move much. It's just like an inch maybe. And then reach through your top arm and pull yourself up and out. Parallel your feet. Take your hands on your hips. Now we get to those 6 points again. Then right foot and left leg out. Front heel in line with your back arch. Press the outer rim of the back heel. Turn the front thigh out so your knee is in line with the top of the foot. And lift the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips together. As you compact the hips together, there's still that spreading at the top of the groins. So we have to use the brain slightly differently. And if it doesn't work in this pose, draw the outer knees to the outer hips. That's okay. But if it makes sense, there's still that opening in the groins. Now extend the arms. Press the back heel, reach through the back arm, exhale, come down. And any issues with the neck, shoulders, or balance, just take your hand on your hip. That's totally fine. Totally fine. Same on this side, Olivia. Just that inch back, the whole torso. Don't just pull the top shoulder back because you're fairly straight. It's the whole torso that needs to go back. Pressing into that back heel. Lift the outer knees to the outer hips. Carla, see if you can straighten that front leg a little more. And even separate the legs if you're able to. It'll be easier if you separate your legs and then straighten the front one. And then pulling with the top arm, pull yourself up and out. Parallel your feet. Jump or step your feet together. Right back to Tadasana. We're not between poses. Can you do Tadasana? We've worked so hard on it. Pressing into the 6 points of the feet. Outer hips, outer thighs moving in. Groins, inner thighs moving out. Front bottom ribs back, back bottom ribs in. Spreading across the top of the chest and the back chest. And lifting not just the sternum. Of course, that's fine. But if you're able, go into those areas to the sides of the sternum that actually dip a little bit. And lift that there. Fingertips up, bend your legs, jump or step. So balancing evenly on those 6 points of the feet for a moment. Lifting the outer knees to the outer hips. Lengthening the groins and spreading the groins. Left foot in, right leg out. Press the back heel, turn the front thigh. You are pressing the ball of the front big toe. Lifting both outer knees to outer hips. Inhale, exhale, come down. Now everyone, take your left hand on your hip. Just take the left hand on the hip. Take your back thigh back, press the back heel. Turn the front thigh out, lift both outer knees to outer hips. Now imagine there's a wall behind you. Lean on that wall. Take the head back onto the wall. And as you extend then the arm up, I want you to, if you don't have to extend, you don't have to do the arm. You can stay here if you want. But I want you to think about both the front body and the back body. And now extend the front body, open it, and extend the back body and open it. Widen. It extends front to back too, but widen from arm to arm, front and back. Joe, you're moving into a back bend. Yeah, there you go. And Leanne, you're throwing your right shoulder forward. Keep your right shoulder in line with your left shoulder. Right? That's overdoing that correction, right? People are turned this way, we say do that, but at some point you have to stop and stay in line. Reach with your top arm, pull yourself up and out. And if there's, take your hands on your hips for a moment, take a breath. And if anyone, you haven't been to my class before, but if you're feeling something uncomfortable or don't understand something, have pain, you get to ask me. You can stop in the middle and say, I have a question or this hurts, okay? You don't have to wait till the end of class, and you certainly don't have to suffer. Yoga is not about suffering. It's about removing suffering, stilling the fluctuations of the mind. Arms up, drop the shoulders, please. Turn your right foot and turn your left leg out. Front heel in line with your back arch. So press that back heel. Turn the front thigh out. Still pressing the ball of the big toe. Turn the front thigh out. Lift both outer knees to outer hips. Carla, it's hard for me to tell with those pants, but please make sure the front foot faces completely to the side. Yeah, that's better. Lift the outer knees to the outer hips. Compact those hips together. Now reach to the back arm. Press the back heel. Inhale. Exhale. Come down. And then everyone take that top arm on your hip. So take that back thigh back so you can press the back heel. Turn that front thigh out. Lift the outer knee to the outer hip. Hips compact even though we're creating space in the groins. Now lean back on that imaginary wall behind you, but not just the top shoulder blade, both of them. So they're in a straight line. Head also then in that straight line. And then as you extend the arm up, can you spread the chest, but spread the back chest too? Spread the top of the back away from each other. Move the shoulder blades apart. I know sometimes we teach squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other, but I'm saying move the shoulder blades apart today. Extend, expand in the chest, and move the arms further away from each other. But are you still pressing the back heel? Are you still lifting both outer knees to outer hips? Reach up, pull yourself up and out. Parallel the feet. You can percept your feet together. Tadasana. Right to it. Pressing into those 6 points of the feet. Whether the feet are together or hip distance apart is irrelevant. Press into those 6 points. Either it can be the balls of the toes, center heels, outer foot bone, that's fine. Or where the balls of the toes meet the arch, where the center heels meet the arch, where the outer foot bone meets the arch. But a pushing down, right? Sometimes we say balance is fine. I'll teach that one again. But today, push down and notice the effect that it has on your legs when you push down there, seeking an evenness. Lift the outer knees to the outer hips, compact hips towards each other, release the tops of the groins away from each other. Take the outer thighs towards each other, take the inner thighs away from each other. Keep the front bottom ribs back, back bottom ribs in, and as you lift the chest, can you lift to the sides of the sternum, not the center of the sternum, but the sides today. Shoulders down, extend through the arms. Soft face. And release. Everyone needs a chair. So at home, get a chair. Here, please give people space so they can get a chair. Let's maintain some distancing. And put your chair on your mat to the right side so that the back of the chair is facing you. We're just using, we're using the chair right now simply for balance. At home, if you prefer using a wall, you can use a wall. But here we're going to use a chair. So you can have your hand on the chair. And it's for balance, so you don't fall. It's going to help support you because we're about to stand on one leg. Vrikshasana. Pick up your left leg and turn your right leg out to the, left leg out to the side. Just so you can place your heel on your ankle for a moment. Now this might be as far as you go. This is totally fine. Right, so there you go. Now, as soon as we do this, notice what happened to your right hip. Did it move closer to the chair? So lift the outer right knee to the outer right hip so that the hip is back above your heel. And then lift your leg up. And put it back down. See, nobody fell, right? Lift it up. Higher, knee higher, knee higher, knee higher. Not so the torso slides. Keep your torso upright. Keep the hip in and lift your knee higher. And take it down. Standing leg. Outer knee to outer hip. Squeeze that hip in. Lift the leg. Lift the knee higher. Lift the knee higher. Maybe you can take hold of your ankle and then take your heel as high as it goes. Unless it's on your knee. If it's really on your knee, then you have to take it lower than your knee. So above the knee or below the knee. Nice, George. Is your first time doing this? Way better than me. My first time. Now notice again, when the heel presses into the thigh, that hip moves out. So draw the hip in and press the heel into the thigh into the heel equally. And then you can extend your left arm up. If you have your balance, you can extend your right up. But, the chair is there for you. Notice if as you take your arm up, if your hip moves out, take your hip in, press your hip into press your thigh into your heel into the thigh evenly. And then take your arms down, release your hand, your foot, Tadasana. Other side. Turn your right leg out to the side. And again, notice, it happens to me, notice that hip just falls. So lift in the standing leg, the outer knee to the outer hip, and squeeze that hip in. Squeeze it in. And then lift the bent leg up. And then put it down. Keep more awareness on the standing leg than the bent leg. So you keep that hip in. And then lift the leg up. And then lift it higher. Higher. Knee up, knee up, knee up, knee up. And then knee up, knee up, knee up, knee up, knee up. Keep that hip in, keep that hip in. Maybe you can grab your ankle. Take it up as high as you can. Man, you might need to move things out of the way. That's okay. And then when the hip touches the thigh, when the heel touches the thigh, do you throw your hip out again? Lift the outer knee to the outer hip. Compact that hip, right? That's what we've been doing in Tadasana, right? Compacting the hip. So move that hip in. The heel automatically presses the thigh, right? But can you press the thigh into the heel as much as you're pressing the heel into the thigh? Equal. And then you can take your arm up. Watch that hip. It's about to drop out. If you'd like, both arms. You don't have to. Hip in. And then arms down. And then foot down. And first side. Balancing poses help focus the mind, because if the mind is wandering, you fall. So you can pick a point to stare at, either on the wall in front of you or in the distance on the floor in front of you, and that can help with any of the balance side of it. We'll do it again. Again, you have the chair for support, though. It's right there. Turn the left leg out. Press into those 3 points of that foot now, of the standing foot. Lift the outer knee to the outer hip and compact that hip. Come back to center here. I just witnessed something, but I realized that I saw it before. So watch for a second, everybody. So somewhere along the line in yoga, we were taught that this knee is in line with the hip. So there, you can see my knee is maybe you can see it on camera, is parallel to the wall. But what you don't see, because I got to hide it, is that this isn't even at all anymore, right? All I did was shift my hips. I'm going to keep my hips squared now, to the best of my understanding and ability. See where that knee is? Now it's true, I can work on it. I can open the groin a little bit more. I can draw the outer knee to the outer hip a little bit more. Oh man, that's open. You have no idea how much I feel this. Okay, it moved maybe a millimeter or two. It's different now. But it is the only way for me to get my knee in line with this hip is to turn. Don't. This is fine. Okay, let's do it again. So use this chair as support. It's totally fine. And it's going to help you bring that hip in as we get started. You can take your hand off the chair if you want as we get into it. So turn the left leg out. You're standing on the right leg now. Push into those 3 points, right? Either the ball of the big toe, center heel, or foot bone, or where the ball of the big toe meets the arch, where the heel meets the arch, the outer foot bone meets the arch. And even here, before we bring the leg up, outer knee to outer hip, and really draw that hip in. And then lift the knee up. Lift it up more. Keep that hip in. Keep that hip in. Keep that hip in. Keep the hip squared. Take hold of the ankle. And then place the heel. And notice, did you turn? Or is your buttocks parallel to the wall behind you? And therefore the hips still squared, even though the knee, for most, certainly most of us, that knee has to come forward. Maybe there's some that has such open hips that they can really open, but that is not the majority of us. So standing leg, press into those points of the foot, lift the outer knee to the outer hip, and draw the hip in. Now, the heel is already pressing the thigh. Nothing you can do about that, and that's fine. But press the thigh into the heel equally. And then, yes, lengthen the groin of that bent leg. Draw the outer knee to the outer hip. So it's both outer knees to the outer hips. Compact the hips together. You guys have heard that, right? Compact the hips together. Move the tops of the groins apart. Still here. Oh, I felt it open. My leg moved, but I'm still square. My hips haven't moved. And now, left arm up. Compact those hips. Compact the hips. Compact the hips. Ribs in. And if you'd like, right arm up. Stare at that point. Stare at that point, either on the wall or on the floor. Stare, stare, stare. That was good, George. And then hands down and release the leg. Other side. Notice how the two sides feel quite differently right now, yeah? So let's try and even it out. Use the chair for support. Turn your right leg out. Now again, as soon as we do that, this hip falls out to the side. We even lose some of the foot. So start with the foot. Press, see if you can turn your toes forward, George. Press into the 6 foot of your standing, there you go. There you go. Press into those 6 points of the foot. Lift the outer knee to the outer hip and draw that hip in. Compact that hip. Now see how much of that hip you can maintain. If you lose it, you lose it. It's not a judgment zone, but we're just trying to train the body. Keep that hip in, lift the leg up, lift the knee up higher, take hold of the ankle and bring it in. And then yes, the hip went in. So press into the foot, lift the outer knee to the outer hip and draw that hip in. The thigh pressing the heel as much as the heel presses the thigh, but also the back body. Are you moving your hips, or are those hips, the buttocks, square to that wall behind you? And press your heel to the thigh, thigh to the heel. Make sure you're not pressing into your knee, George. Compact the hips. So yes, on that top leg, you want to open a little more, fine. Lengthen the groins. Draw the outer knee to the outer hip, and then both outer knees to outer hips. There we go. Front ribs back. Are you still pressing into the foot? And then right arm up. Stare at your gazing point. They call it a drishti. Stare at your drishti, and then maybe you bring the other arm up. You don't have to. Amazing, George. Seriously, it took me a year not to fall in this pose, and you're doing it day one. Heel to thigh, thigh to heel, and then hands out to the side. Drop the foot back into Tadasana. Press into the 6 points of the feet. Outer knees to outer hips. Compact the hips, compact the outer thighs, spread the groins, spread the inner thighs. All right, as long as you have the chair out, take the chair, turn it to face the back of the chair faces me, and then you'll sit in the chair facing with your right side of the body facing the chair. Square, the chairs might have, depending on what you have at home, but here the chairs have that little diagonal. So as best as you're able, square your hips Knees in line with your hips and then heels underneath the knees. Draw the ribs towards the front ribs towards the back body. We're still elongating the thighs. We're still descending the inner thighs. We're still drawing the outer knees to the outer hips. We're still compacting the hips together even as we spread the tops of the groins away from each other. Those actions will actually help your twists. They'll create more space for the twist. So don't move your awareness away from the legs. Keep more awareness in your legs right now than you do the torso, even though the torso will be doing the majority of the witnessable actions. Extend your arms forward, arms up. Again, awareness is on the legs. So Carla, arms forward, arms up. Brazos arriba. Inhale, keep that length. Exhale, begin to turn and take hold of the back of the chair. So turn, Carla, there you go. That's it. So the torso begins to turn towards the chair, but all that awareness on the legs, that spreading of the groins, the descending of the groins is really going to help you in the turn. Now, elbows up and shoulders down. What does that do? Broadens across the chest, but also broadens across the top of the back. Inhale, lift up to the side ribs. Exhale, turn. So you pull with the left hand, push with the right hand, turn towards the chair. Inhale, lifting up through the side ribs. Exhale, turn. Inhale, lifting up through the side ribs. Exhale, turn. Don't just turn the head. Keep your chin in line with your sternum. And then pause here and observe wherever you are. Broaden across the chest and top of the back. And observe your experience. Inhale, maintain the lift. Exhale, come to center. Turn around on a chair. Again, squaring your hips, your knees, and your heels. Get the legs. So lengthen the groins, descend the groins. Draw the outer knees to the outer hips, compact the hips together, spread the tops of the groins apart. Keep more awareness on the legs than you do the torso. Arms forward, arms up. Keep those front bottom ribs in. More awareness on the legs than the torso. Do get length in the torso, but more awareness on the legs. Inhale on your exhalation, turn, take hold of the back of the chair. Now more awareness on the legs than the torso. So still, compact the hips, spread the groins, lengthen the groins, descend the groins. Inhale, lifting, exhale, turning. No tight fists on the chair. Elbows up, shoulders down. So it's flat hands on the chair. Inhale, lifting, exhale, turning. Inhale, lifting, exhale, turning. Chin in line with your sternum. Elbows up, broaden across the chest, broaden across the back chest. Observe. Inhale, maintain that lift. Exhale, come to center. Come up, take the chair to the side of your mat, downward facing dog with the support of the chair. Take your hands on the chair, walk your feet back. So your torso and your arms are in one straight line. Press the thighs back. Yeah, you got it. You got it, George. Just keep your feet where, no. Keep your feet where they are, George, and move your hips further back. Back, other way. There you go. Soften your face. Do press your thighs back. Sean, take your feet a little closer to the chair. That's it. Now take your thighs back. That's it. Hands are flat. Outer knees to outer hips. Compact the hips. Lengthen from the inner knees up through the inner groins. As you compact the hips, spread the groins apart. Tops of the thighs apart. As you compact the hips, spread across the lower back. Keep the front bottom ribs moving up towards the back body. Don't sink the ribs. Colleen, take your head down slightly. There you go. Good. And then look up, walk your feet forward. Tadasana. Feet together. Our final Tadasana for today. How is this different than the first one? Are you pressing into the 6 points of your feet? Are you compacting the hips and outer thighs while spreading the tops of the groins and the inner thighs? Lifting not just the sternum, but the sides of the sternum, or the area to the sides of the sternum is actually more accurate. Observing the quality of your body, your breath, and your mind in this moment. And release. All right, move the chair. Lie back. Bend your legs into your chest for just a moment. So lie back. Give yourself a little hug here. Say something kind to yourself. Say something loving to yourself here. Give yourself a real hug as if you mean it. Offer gratitude for yourself, for what your body has done today. Even if it didn't do everything you wanted, thank it for what it did do. Can you honor the successes? And on your inhalation, take your feet to the floor. Straighten your legs one at a time. Let your legs fall apart. Let your arms move out to the sides comfortably. Maybe they're a little lower, maybe they're a little higher. No big deal. Let go. Let go. Let gravity have you. Let gravity have you. Let your body be absorbed by the Mother Earth below you. Let her hold you so you no longer need to hold yourself. Notice how the breath breathes you. You do not need to breathe, the breath will breathe you. Can you become a witness to the breath as the breath breathes you? Begin to deepen the inhalation and lengthen the exhalation. Soft, smooth, peaceful inhalation and a longer, smooth, peaceful exhalation. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your nose. Bend your legs, place your feet on the floor with your knees together, feet apart. Take your hands, feet on the floor, knees together, feet apart. Hands on your abdomen or onto your chest. Knees together, if they go together, just softens the back. Let the healing energy of your hands penetrate your body, pierce through your layers, and heal whatever it is you may need healing with today. When you feel ready, extend your right arm past your right ear, roll to the right side. Be on your right side for a moment. Whenever you feel ready, place your left hand on the floor in front of your heart. Turn your torso towards the floor. Push to come up. Come up chest first, head last. Come up to sitting. Cross your legs the opposite way you started class. Of course, if you'd rather sit in Virasana or Vajrasana, that's fine. Bring your palms together. Taking a moment to observe your practice. What's different? What's changed? Offering gratitude for yourself, for being here. Offering gratitude for your body, for all that it's able to do. Take your yoga practice with you outside of this room, into the rest of your day, with kindness and compassion. Kindness and compassion for others. Most importantly, kindness and compassion for yourself. And let's close our practice together by chanting one collective Om. Deep inhalation. Om. Can you let your eyes open? Big smile. Namaste. Bow to the divine within you.